What is the world all about? Well, in a big political way of looking at it, I mean. It's about money and it's about power. And I will talk about the war in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Ukraine in this video, and about money and about power. You can have power without any money, or at least a very small amount of money. There are several examples around the world. Small countries, poor countries, with very strong political leadership, often in a way of a dictatorship. So even if the country is poor or small or both, the power can be very strong. In fact, it's easier to remain in power with less money. I mean, less money in the population. Because then the population doesn't have any power. And then the dictatorship can go on forever. Sort of. And what about Russia and Ukraine? When I look at a lot of different YouTubers, for example, who talks about the war in Ukraine, a lot of them talk about just the war, the military war, the shooting, the bombing, and so on. And who is winning that battle? Who is winning on the battlefield? I don't look at it in that way. I'm looking at it, who is winning in total. And in total, it's not only about the military gains, it's about the political and the economical winning as well. And what about Russia? Russia can win the war in Ukraine. It's possible if the Western countries don't support Ukraine anymore or less than now, then Russia has a possibility to win the war. That's a fact. Russia has a lot of resources in manpower and equipment, a lot more than Ukraine. So if Ukraine doesn't get the help from the Western countries, then Ukraine can lose the war against Russia. That's a fact. So if Russia wins the war in Ukraine, what happens then? Is Russia a winner then? Is Russia a winner militarily? Yes. Is Russia a winner politically? Yes, because I think Putin will stay in power if Russia wins the war in Ukraine. Because in a dictatorship, the most important thing is that the population look at their dictator as a strong man. And if Putin wins militarily in Ukraine, the people of Russia, most of them anyway, will look at Putin and say, he's a strong man, let's keep him in power. And that's the most important thing for Mr. Putin. He has a lot of things, I'm sure, on his agenda, but number one on his agenda, point number one, the first thing is to stay in power. So Russia can be a winner militarily, Russia can be a winner politically, from Putin's way of seeing it. I mean, he can stay in power then, but will they be a winner economically? No, they won't. Russia is, in fact, really, I mean, they are economically a loser right now. They can't be a winner economically. They have lost the economical war. And the economical war isn't against Ukraine. It's against everyone. It's about Russia's economical power in the world. And that economical power is shrinking a lot. And there are several factors that are doing just that. First of all, the war itself, it costs a lot of money. Russia is spending more money than they have in revenue. Russia, if you compare it with a company, a business, then Russia is losing money. They spend more money than they have in revenue. And that's not sustainable, of course. But Putin doesn't care about that, because it's the population of Russia who will pay the price, not Putin himself. So he doesn't care, because he doesn't care about the people of Russia. He cares only about one thing, and that thing is to stay in power. And Russia has already lost the economical war. As I said, a lot of money is spent on the war itself, but that's not the worst thing. The worst thing is that Russia is cut off from a huge part of the world is not doing business with Russia anymore. And that will have catastrophic consequences for Russia in the long run. The longer you see it in the future, the worse it will get for Russia. Because all of the sanctions, because all of the businesses that aren't there anymore from the Western countries. Russia can't be successful economically without the Western countries. That's a fact. And the longer the time goes, the worse it will get for Russia, not for the Western countries. The Western countries can live without Russia. Russia can't live without the Western countries. Economically, I mean. So Russia is going down the drain, down the toilet economically. And it's not just that, the sanctions and all the cut-off businesses. There are Russians who has left the country. Who has left the country? Who are these Russians? Those Russians. Well, of course, it's not... Well, I will put it like this. The Russians who have left the country, over 1 million people, Russians, they have left because they are seeing the same thing as I am seeing. Russia is going down the toilet economically. And those people are interested in the economic situation. Those people are business people, they are people, creative people, they are people with ideas they want to fulfill in their lives, and they see the same thing as I am seeing. Russia isn't the place for that anymore, and won't be for a long time in the future. That's why they left Russia. Russia isn't that important for them. Their own lives are more important for them. They want to live their lives. They don't want to be stopped by a crazy dictator that is ruining their own country. So they left. And those people, business people, creative people, people with ideas, those people are the people that creates businesses and jobs. Those people are very, very important for a country. And of course also for Russia. But they have left. They are not there anymore, and they will not come back. Because they don't want to go back to a ruined Russia. They can't do their businesses in a ruined Russia. They will do their business in in another country in the world. And then there are several other things that are very bad for Russia. The population itself. There are a lot of elderly people, but there are not a lot of children. And that's also catastrophic for the future. Not right now, maybe, not in 1 year, not in 5 years, but in 10 years, 20, 30 years, it will be a disaster for Russia. And now there are, as I said, many people have left the country, young people, creative people, business people, and then there are a lot of people who are killed in Ukraine, Russians, I mean, that won't be making any babies because they are dead. Everything is going down the toilet for Russia economically. So even if they win the war militarily, what will remain of Russia then? They will have a part of or the whole of Ukraine totally demolished. What will they win with that? Nothing. Nothing economically. It will be a disaster. The sanctions won't go away. Russia is a loser economically, but Putin doesn't care. And why doesn't he care? Because the only thing he cares about is to stay in power. And if he wins the war militarily in Ukraine, it's easier for him to stay in power. Even if the country is going down the toilet economically. Because if the people are getting more poor, then it's easier for Putin to don't have any... How shall I put it? Then it's easier for Putin to stay in power, and the people won't be... There won't be any resistance in the population. They are poor. They are... Everything they will do is to fight for staying alive for the day. And they've... In the state television in Russia, they only say that Russia is great and everything in West is bad, and West is have the plan to crush, to break down Russia. So the people, they think that that's the truth. And the people are getting poorer and poorer, and Putin can stay in power, and everything is good for Putin. And that's the only thing he cares about. He doesn't care about ruining Russia for decades to come. He doesn't care about that. He just cares about staying in power. So if he continues the war in Ukraine, he hopes that the West will stop supporting Ukraine. Then he will win the war in Ukraine militarily, he thinks. And then he can stay in power for a long time. Until he dies, probably. But the country of Russia is going down the toilet. But Putin is not. He is flushing his own people down the toilet, but he doesn't care. The only thing he cares about is staying in power. But economically, Russia is gone. Russia has already lost. There is no way back. Well, of course, there is a way back. If Putin disappears and the whole of Russia is turning around and paying for all the damages in Ukraine and backing down with their military from Ukraine and so on, well, of course, then it's a way back for Russia. But it doesn't look like that at all right now. So the best for Russia is, of course, that Putin disappears. A new leadership comes in place, and they go back from Ukraine, go back to their own country, stop the war, paying their debt to Ukraine, and then the sanctions can go maybe away. But Putin is not interested in that at all. He is interested in keep the war going so he can stay in power. And if he wins the war, then he can stay in power for sure. That's his plan. So Putin can be a winner from his point of view, but Russia as a country is already a loser. A big time loser. That's all, folks, for this video. If you want to, we'll see each other again. Bye for now.